What's going on, y'all? Got another video for you today. This one's going to be mostly centered around depression and kind of my views on it and kind of how it affects me. I think I got a little bit of a different take than a lot of people do regarding it. The depression's been something I've been it's been part of my life ever since I was a kid. I don't really remember too much of my childhood when I didn't have it. Just something that was just kind of followed me all throughout my adolescence, my teenage years, my adult years, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Looking at the definition of it, of what depression is, at least what a lot of people think what depression is, because I never knew what it was like to not feel this way, to not really be super enthusiastic about things, and to kind of be safe, feel safe with myself, and kind of feel like the people around me kind of want me there, and my situation would just kind of work out the way that I kind of envisioned it. This is something I've been that mind frame, I've been kind of stuck in there for a while. Not until, a little over a year ago, started going to therapy, which really changed how I viewed myself and the people around me. That definitely helped, because I was already kind of getting knowledge about people already. I was already kind of blackpilling myself about what reality was, how people actually are, and how people actually move, and how I should move, moving forward in my life. But the main thing with me in depression was like changing that definition, because I knew it wasn't like something that was like chemically wrong with my brain. I knew I wasn't actually doing a whole lot to cause my own depression. It felt like it was like a state that I was kind of stuck in, where I didn't really have a whole lot of autonomy on like what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, how I wanted to be perceived. I feel like a lot of that was already kind of made for me, and I kind of decided to kind of play by the rules that a lot of people were setting for me. But recently I started to change my perspective of what actually being depressed actually means, and how I'm going to tackle it for myself moving forward, and also the people who are going to be in my life, how I envision they should probably tackle it to get better results. Because now that I'm older, got a little bit more knowledge about the situation and then the subject, I feel like I got a little bit more nuance, to where I feel like my depression was mainly, there's a whole bunch of different components to it. If I see like a pie chart, like the biggest piece of that pie was me not being affirmed of like who I was and what I was doing. I was constantly being, either gaslit, or like specifically lied to, not really accepted on like a personal basis. Like people just did not want me there. They didn't feel comfortable being themselves with me in their presence, and so they kind of had to choose. I'm going to not really allow this person, this child, a lot of the times, to express themselves in this kind of opinions, thoughts, that either contradict their thoughts, or made them feel a certain type of way, brought up some emotions out of them that I kind of wasn't specifically trying to evoke or to bring out of them. It was just me just being myself. And I'm noticing that's a lot of what's going on, especially with very talented, gifted people. That's kind of how people want to keep them where they're at, is just not affirm them, not validate anything that they're doing, that they're saying, that they want to be. And that was like my biggest thing from like late elementary school on, maybe like 6, 7, 8. I was just constantly I wasn't being affirmed. I was just kind of always under attack, by, the people closest to me, my friends, my family, my environment. And I don't, see myself as a victim, not anymore. I was always, for the longest time, kind of stuck in a victim kind of mindset, kind of framing myself as that because of, I knew how I was being treated and how people were actually, the energy that they were sending towards me was not valid. You know what I'm saying? You can feel however you want to feel, but once your feelings turn into something a little bit more aggressive towards people, that's when it's no longer valid, and you're actually trying to harm someone because of how you feel and what's going on in your head. Especially when you're assuming the worst out of someone and not really seeing how you're just projecting how you feel onto another person. It was definitely something that even at a young age I knew what was going on unconsciously, but consciously it was like very confusing because it was happening from people who I put a whole lot of trust into, confided in, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, why are you, out of all people, doing this to me? My friends, my family, very, very people who were very close to me, people who I depended on, was kind of like, the saying goes, it be your own people, and it's very true. And I see the remnants of that where people don't even trust the people who are very close to them. There's a lot of, I think that's what's leading to like a lot of self-hate with people, is them just being done wrong in their eyes and their view by people who they assumed and kind of had expectations that they weren't going to do that. They weren't going to be done wrong by people who they feel like they were in good terms with. And that's, unfortunately not really something that you have control over. And then I'm also learning that as well, is kind of accepting things you don't have full control over, and just kind of be grateful and gravitate towards the things that you do have control over, like the people that you let into your life. But with my depression, the biggest piece of that was just not being affirmed, and knowing that I wanted to go one way and people were like actively keeping me from that. Was it was something that was very hard for me to comprehend, as a small child, and even as an adult. Hard for me to comprehend that people will actually do that. That people would purposely put obstacles in front of somebody. Especially when that person didn't actually do anything personally to them. They were just kind of existing and existing in their space. And that's just not allowed for some people. And the reason why I no longer view myself as a victim, because if I can't victimize them, they can't victimize me. If I'm not a victim, neither are you. None of our choices in any of these situations were valid. So I know that we're all just trying to survive, as humans, as animals, as creatures of habit, trying to get past all of these things that we've been doing for thousands of years. I'm saying? Just because we have these societies now that we didn't have for very long, communities that weren't, established. You've only been around for a few thousand years, maybe, depending on the country that you're from. Versus, tens of thousands of years of us kind of doing things a little bit more primally off of our instincts, and expecting us to kind of, because we live in these societies now that just forget how we used to do things in the past, is very much a mistake that we're all kind of making. That's why I make these black pill videos, is because I know that getting back to that understanding of how people truly are as like I said, as animals, and understanding that when there's like a hierarchy, when there's like a pecking order, and when people just feel, biologically, like where you are and where they are, and how that affects how they're going to be treated, people are just going to resort back to those instincts and go back to how we used to do things for a very, very long time. And we try to mask all these things with societies now, which makes sense. We want to evolve past these feelings and things, which we have made tremendous progress as a species on how we treat people who are different from us, even like even our own family, how we treat each other, but we're far from gotten this thing lit to where we just know what we're doing. And the fact that we're so hard on ourselves and other people on these things that we're just biologically wired to do, you know what I'm saying? This kind of attack people who threaten us, that we are fearful of, and not fully coming to terms with the fact that like that's just kind of what we've done for the longest time, has made the has heightened the depression to an extent, but also made it a lot easier to accept. With the five uh, stages of grief. You know what I'm saying? Get that anger. Once you get past the denial and that anger, which that's the part that I'm kind of still in, is that stage 2 anger. Then you bargain, then you get depressed, and then you accept. Getting to that depression of accepting that we are creatures of habit. We have a whole bunch of things about ourselves that we might not be super comfortable with. That how we got to where we are today was the remnants of how we did things for a very, very long time. And you can see how things are going on in society, and how with violence, and how we kind of look and perceive each other. And this has been going on since the beginning of time, and these are a lot less primal now than what it used to be. That definitely kind of helps me accept this reality. And when I say in my previous videos that we are living in the best timeline, we are, because we do have the knowledge of we cannot stay in this mindset of attacking people who are different than us, and constantly feeding into our own insecurities about ourselves, and forgetting like how blessed we are, and how grateful we should be for our mere existence in this current time. Because people like to romanticize certain periods of time as better than where we're living today, which there's always going to be parts of those eras where certain things were a little bit better for certain people. But overall, I would say no, today is definitely the best time, and we definitely have the most autonomy that we've ever had in human history all over the world. So we definitely have the most control over our destiny that we can. That biology, our environment, obviously going to gravitate us towards certain destinations. But at least now we kind of know more about where we're going and where we're headed. We can make pit stops. We can kind of make some turns here or there, to where we have a little bit more control. It's not just straight up cruise control. We're just kind of hands off the wheel, not really choosing where we go. We do have a little bit of that choice, even though I don't believe in objective free will. But that's a different video. But coming to that acceptance, this definitely helped with the depression that I know I'm going to have for the rest of my life, because life is depressing in of itself. Living is depressing, and especially living as a very gifted, big presence type of person, where I just experience reality every single day. I get the real every single day. I don't get the gaslighting. I do get the gaslighting, but I don't get the sugarcoating of life as other people do. People don't really want to spare me of that too often. They actually want to throw as much reality at me as humanly possible, which I'm very grateful for, because it has given me so much knowledge that other people don't get to have, or it's harder for me to get that, because it's kind of like a theory that I have. Like, the more attractive you are to pull people in, the more rare that you are, the more that you stand out. It just triggers something in people where I kind of have to give this person like the truest form of me that I am comfortable of giving to that person, because I might not ever see this person ever again, and I there's something about this person that uh, attracts me to them. So you're just going to get that version of people. You're really going to see people for who they are once you are like an attractive big person, chosen, gifted, whatever label you want to use. Um, and it's like yin and yang. You got to take the good with the bad. I definitely know a whole lot about myself. People in my community. Men, women. Um, my environment, my country, other people. It gives me that lens that most people don't have. I think depending on who you are, the more attractive you are, the more lens you get to view the world in, and that's definitely helped me lead to this conclusion about depression, about how it's pretty much like reality. That's pretty much what it is. The depression is reality, and reality, the black pill is depression, and depression is reality. And it's takes a really really long time for you to just get past what your reality is. No matter who you are, you can't run from it, you can't escape it. It's just all about getting to that acceptance, that radical acceptance as well. And that's pretty much where I'm at in this at this time. Is because going from the denial of what things are, and I'm still having these conversations with people, even like the surface level black pill conversations with people, and they're still in denial because it's very painful to think that someone views someone that you saw for decades as one thing, and kind of like changing that perspective, almost changing how you perceive this person, um, after you saw them a certain type of way for that extended period of time, is very painful. You know what I'm saying? It changes it shatters your whole world, your whole existence. And I can understand why certain people, especially when you get to a certain age, your 50s and above, how doing that type of radical acceptance is just something that you just don't even have the energy to do. You know what I'm saying? That'll take you years. So I understand why the older generation just will refuse to take any of the more extreme, views on things. They refuse to black pill themselves, which I understand completely. It makes a whole lot of sense to do that much acceptance of what things are. That's why it's so hard to get legislation, rules, and policy change, because they just refuse to be like, this is actually how things are, versus this is how things were when I was a kid. Not understanding how intelligence works, and how we get more and more intelligent by the generation. Even I think this past generation, maybe the generation after, before, might not have actually gained a lot of intelligence, but that's still for debate when I'm reading. But I'm still, each generation gets smarter and smarter, more wiser at a younger age, and that's very weird for people to see. That didn't happen as rapidly as it happened in the past, 40, 50 years. The rapid growth that pretty much everyone all over the world has done, and it's all because of the things that men have made. But going on a little bit of tangent, getting to a better understanding of like how to even tackle depression once you're in it, and not being so hard on myself is something that I've learned. Where I know, blanking on the dude's name, I will eventually put his video in the description, about how he describes depression as like a deep rest. I know a few people have had this idea, but I liked his video, liked his wording, how he phrased it, and how you just have to kind of like use the energy that you would normally use to do your daily activities, and do what you do, and do what you love, your passions. Kind of use that energy and send it up to your head so where you can kind of make sense of what's going on in your reality. From the outside looking in, it seems like you're just in a slump. You're kind of slow, you're lethargic, you're not really too enthusiastic about things. You're not eating. Your eating habits are different. Your sleeping habits are different. But it's just you were just sending that energy to your head and to wherever else needs it for you to at least function on a somewhat normal basis. Um, that's pretty much what my whole viewpoint is now, to where it's probably for the best for you to be depressed. Maybe like once a week. I might have said this in another video. Just so you can like process things and continue that acceptance, because we have a lot of accepting to do in this world about ourselves and about the people around us, about who we are, who we were, how we got here. Um, that's the only way for us to really kind of unify, as a species, is accepting like how flawed we are, each and every one of us. No matter how gifted that you are, we all are extremely flawed. I know I am. Accepting how I'm like pretty much like an asshole who is trying his best to be empathetic, to help people as much as I can while helping myself. Because I know we're all selfish at the end of the day, but we can at least extend a olive branch out to other people to not be heartless towards our fellow man and women and children as well. But that radical acceptance is part of the depression. And some people, when they're stuck in their depression, that's the hardest part, is the acceptance part. You be kind of stay within the denial, anger, bargain parts of that grief of knowing a lot of yourself and the people around you in the society and in your situation. It's just hard to get to that fifth part of acceptance. They'll flirt with the first three, then go to four, and then stay in the depression state, and then go back to one and deny. And it's, people do this even with themselves. People might do something wrong by someone, and they'll just deny it. They're just denied because they don't want to accept it. They don't want to accept that they cause someone harm, because it hurts them knowing that they hurt someone else. And yeah, I'm definitely going through my own depression of accepting that's how people are, and that's why people do what the things that they do, and why some people will never apologize for what they've done or what they said, mainly because they can't accept it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even like apologizing for the other person, but apologizing to themselves and allowing them to do great things, and allowing their body to come at ease, get rid of their anxiety, get rid of their pains and their worries. That's the biggest thing about apologizing, is for yourself, not so much for the other person. And that's getting lost in translation of apologies. People kind of see it as a sign of weakness, but it's actually the opposite. Only the strongest people in the world apologize, because they have to do it for themselves. And when you're living in self-hatred, the last thing you're going to do is something beneficial for you. So I definitely understand why people struggle with apologizing, because they struggle with loving themselves. And that's also very depressing, knowing that so many people don't love themselves. And that's why connection is so hard, when people are just pretending to love themselves, or kind of like doing it, but doing it in like half measures, not fully committing to it, and then kind of stumbling back when things aren't adding up. It's it's definitely, in my opinion, very eye-opening. Just like, I don't want to use like these negative labels, to see things the way that I see them now, how they make sense. And hopefully you guys will kind of give me some feedback, and if you're seeing what I'm seeing and viewing the world the way that I view it. If you're not, definitely let me know how you see depression. I definitely know there is a chemical aspect to it, but the reason why so many people, especially younger generations, are depressed, because they're just like struggling to accept what the reality is with relationships, dating, jobs, housing, just a whole lot of what we were told and what we were kind of guaranteed and what things are now, just not jiving. You know, a lot of people are like, "What's going on?" You know, they're kind of holding their hands up, and be like, what is this? What is this situation that you guys put me into?" And it's hard to get to the acceptance when so many people don't want to actually tell them like what they're viewing, what they're seeing, what they're going through is something that is actually happening. You know, they say no, everything's fine, everything's cool. You know, especially society with what's going on all over the world, even here in America with the politics and everything. People are just refusing to actually say the quiet part out loud. And we're going to get to a point where that's just going to have to be like the new normal for people just to function and at an effective rate of just saying the quiet part out loud, to where it's no longer quiet. It's just saying how you feel, and but also having that kindness and caring about other people as well. But yeah, to kind of wrap this ramble session up, you know, just accepting my depression is pretty much me living life and no longer limiting myself to how I move in the world because of I don't want this to happen. I don't want her to feel this way. I don't want him to feel this way. I can't change that. And trying to like hurry up and get past the anger, bargaining, depression phase of that and go straight to acceptance is just gonna, you know, help me out in the long run and really kind of see the brighter things in life. I'm trying to get to that point of, you know, getting past this anger, getting past this hatred, getting past this feeling of things aren't right and things shouldn't be this way and this, that, and the third. Like, no one cares how I think, no one cares how I feel. Not from like a non-empathetic standpoint, but it's like there's only so much I can do. I'm not God. I can't tell people how to move or how to you know, feel or anything like that. It's just getting to that point of, you know, taking my hands off the reins and being like, this isn't for me to like pretend that I'm in control of things, and I'm just not. Accepting that and trying to gravitate towards people who just view things a little bit similar to you, and you know, not forcing things down people's throats, you know, telling them to feel this way or to look at things this way. Getting to the point where getting to the acceptance of we are just very flawed. We are just, you know, bunch of children at heart, trying to make things work, trying to figure out who we are, what's going on, why are things the way that they are, and get to the bottom of like how we feel about things, our emotions. It's a lot to process, especially if you're like neurodivergent. You know, this is something completely different because you have like the intelligence to really understand it, but at least the IQ, but the emotional element of it is very hard because it's very new. Like, we never really did this type of radical acceptance on a global scale before. So, like I said, this is a beautiful time to be alive in that regard. But at the same time, it's definitely a blessing overall. You know, I'm very grateful to feel this way, to actually have feelings, even though they aren't always pleasant. Like, the painful stuff definitely doesn't feel all that great, but at least I'm feeling something. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are walking around numb to the world, and I'm not even sure where you are at the stage. Maybe the bargaining, maybe the denial. I don't know. I'm not sure, but that numbness that I've felt a few times in my life, it ain't it. So I'm glad that I'm out of that numbness and into actually feeling things now, the anger, the sorrow, the grief, and I can move on accepting that depression is pretty much how I'm always going to be in that state, because that's pretty much acceptance, that's pretty much reality. So that's it. The video is pretty much, you know, depression is reality and blackpilling yourself is very depressing. So that's all. try to get through this depression together, accept who we are, accept what's going on, and keep making history. And that's all I got.